I'm cold. Summer has finally ended. And what is the one thing that comes to mind when you think about summer? Water. Yeah, let's go with that. And which Skylander is the most popular from the water element? And maybe the entire series actually? Gill Grunt. After being in the starter pack for the first game, Gill Grunt's big fat face was so easily recognisable. He definitely does have one of the more different designs in the game. Activision had been making Call of Duty games 8 years straight beforehand, and they were still trying to get the hang of not giving things guns. Well, today we'll be looking closely at the freaky fish and deciding whether he lives up to the hype. So ready or not, it's time to master our Gill Grunt skills. Basically. Everybody knows Gill Grunt. I mean, it's kinda hard not to know him since he's in every single game. But then again, he is a great character and a very good choice for the starter pack. But did you know that Gill Grunt is a war veteran who's suffering from crippling amounts of PTSD? Okay, well, the last part's kind of an assumption, but Gill Grunt does have a lot of history. While he was doing soldiery things, he met an enchanted mermaid. And I guess they fell in love? I don't really know. But he promised this mermaid that after the war was over, he would return to her. Only to find out years later that the mermaid had been kidnapped by a bunch of pirates. So Gill Grunt began searching all over Skylands for the mermaid, and that's actually how he found the Skylanders and joined them. And he never found the mermaid. Well, that's disappointing as hell. So what have we learnt from this backstory? Well, that Gill Grunt's probably fueled on rage and revenge. Anyways, with that out of the way, I think we should take a look at Gill Grunt's moveset. For Gill Grunt's first attack, he shoots his harpoon gun. The harpoons travel pretty fast, have a long range and deal decent damage. The one drawback is that you can't really spam this attack, since you have to wait about a second for it to reload. Most of the time this is going to be your go-to attack. There's not really anything special about it, it's just a decent attack. And for his secondary attack, he sprays out a bunch of deadly water. I've been drinking it the whole time! This move is infamously known for not being as useful as the first attack. It doesn't do much damage and it doesn't do it at a very fast rate. It also slows Gill Grunt down while using it, and it has a meter, which means you can only use it for a certain amount of time. It is definitely helpful for crowd control, since the harpoons can only damage one enemy at a time, but there aren't very many situations where this move is going to be better than the first one. So as it stands right now, he has a pretty basic pair of attacks. And honestly, they're both pretty underwhelming. The harpoons are kinda just fine. They're not bad or anything, but because the secondary attack is so rubbish, you'll end up having to rely on this move most of the time. And it's simply just not strong enough. So I'm really hoping the upgrades make some changes here. The first upgrade increases the power of your harpoon gun. This feels like a very necessary and very helpful upgrade. And the next upgrade increases the power of your secondary attack. Along with that, it also increases the knockback of this move. Knockback is one of the few things that this attack has going for it, and it makes you a lot less vulnerable. I do find it slightly annoying that sometimes the knockback works, and then sometimes it doesn't. But it does work most of the time, and it makes this move a lot more fun and just a lot better to use. And the upgrade after that makes your harpoons reload faster. This upgrade is very important, because the initial reload is a serious problem. And with this upgrade it feels a lot less slow. The fifth upgrade unlocks Gill Grunt's third move, and it allows him to fly around by blasting water out of his jetpack. This whole time I thought that was where he stored his Capri-Sun. There is really not much I can say about this move. As we all know, a lot of Skylanders from the first game had a flying move. And yeah, it kinda made sense in the first game for flying over water, but in the future games, all they really offer you is extra mobility. And that is helpful for someone as slow as Gill Grunt. But that's really all it does. And just like the secondary attack, the water has to be refilled after a few seconds, which is very counterproductive. I just don't really like this move. It's no doubt the worst flying move in the game. Well, despite ending on a low, some of these upgrades improved Gill Grunt drastically. But we're only getting started because now we move on to the split upgrade paths. One that focuses on the harpoon gun and one that focuses on the second and third moves. So let's take a look at these paths and figure out which one's better. Starting on the bottom path, we're immediately welcomed to a very nice upgrade. This upgrade gets rid of those pesky meters and it fixes my biggest problem with the flying move. Now you can zoom around the place for as long as you want. Even though this move should have been like this from the start, I am very grateful to have it like this now. It overall just has a lot more value now. Also, without the stupid time limit, the secondary attack is actually usable now. And using both of these moves at the same time makes for a devastating combo. The middle upgrade increases the damage of your power hose? It was called power hose the whole time? Well anyways, the power hose is a whole lot stronger now. This might be a simple upgrade, but god damn it's effective. Whilst the harpoons are still faster and have a longer range, the secondary attack now deals pretty decent damage and has massive knockback. Plus, by using the devastating combo that I mentioned earlier, Gill Grunt can now scald his enemies with boiling hot water without being slow or vulnerable. I just realised how messed up that is. And for the final upgrade of this path... oh no. This upgrade allows you to shoot explosive sea creatures out of your power hose. But how do you do it? Well, you press the primary button whilst using the secondary attack. What's so bad about that? Oh wait, everything! Do you guys remember Chop Chop Basically? Do you remember the shield bash from Chop Chop Basically? This is the same damn thing. Spyro's Adventure was originally only meant to be on Nintendo consoles. And that's why this kind of upgrade works perfectly on a Wii remote, but not on Xbox or PlayStation 1. They found a way around this by mapping the second and third moves to the shoulder buttons. But Imaginators removed that feature. Why? I really do like this upgrade, it's an extra bit of power for the secondary attack. But I don't want finger cramps. And because of how uncomfortable it is to use, I never found myself using this upgrade naturally. So sadly that really limits what I can do with the upgrade. But in the other games it works fine and it works well. Well, I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the bottom path. It took a lot of my major issues and fixed them. So even if the top path is better, I can safely say that this is a good path. But is the top path better? The top path starts off by making your harpoons deal more damage. Along with that they turn into quadrant harpoons. Hey, that's quite dangerous. I'll be taking that. And the middle upgrade lets the harpoons pierce through enemies. When it comes to singling out an enemy, the harpoons were pretty good. But if there's one thing that the harpoons can't deal with, it's crowd control. And that's why, in my opinion, this upgrade is the most important for this path. And speaking of crowd control, the final upgrade for this path allows you to shoot 3 harpoons at a time. Not a very innovative or interesting upgrade for sure, but it increases Gill Grunt's damage potential so much that I can't really complain. Put together with the piercing upgrade, big groups of enemies won't stand a chance. So, which path is better? Well, if you'd asked me this question a couple of days ago, I would have said the top path for sure. But now that I've really gotten to play with the bottom path, it's going to be a much harder decision. When it comes to sheer power, the top path is the one to go with. But sadly it also gets rid of so much of Gill Grunt's versatility. The secondary attack will pretty much never be a good option, and along with that you can only fly around for a couple of seconds. This will make him a long ranged and powerful character, but when it comes to close combat, you're gonna struggle. And with the bottom path, your harpoons are just kinda meh, but your secondary attack becomes a lot more helpful, especially with the knockback. And let's not forget about the infinite flying. I said it would be a hard decision, but I didn't think it would be this hard. Well, really for the first time in this series, I say go for what you want. Most Gill Grunt players probably pick the top path just because it's your primary attack. But I definitely suggest giving the bottom path a try as well. The top path is definitely the safer option because the primary attack is a lot easier to use. But if you ever feel like a change in playstyle, then go for the bottom path. Well, with all that out of the way, let's move on to the soul gem. If you hold the primary attack for long enough, then you can shoot a massive harpoon that does tons of damage. Oh wait, this changes everything. Because this soul gem can be made stronger by going with the top path, go with the top path. It's a little bit unfair that the top path has the advantage of making your soul gem better. Of course, this doesn't mean that the bottom path is a bad choice, but when it comes to doing good in battle, I'm now leaning slightly more towards the top path. I nearly forgot that because of his iconic face, Gill Grunt became a slave for Activision. And because of the oversaturation of this character, we have 3 different WoW pals to check out. Starting with Series 2, who has my least favourite WoW pal out of the 3. It literally just takes his soul gem and makes him shoot 3 of them instead of 1. Such a boring WoW pal, but it does change the harpoon into a trident, which looks really cool. And then for Anchors Away Gill Grunt, when you charge up the harpoon and press the secondary button, you'll launch it in the air. And once it lands, it'll start spinning around and suck up all of the enemies nearby and do damage to them. This WoW pal is a lot more interesting. It's good for crowd control, and it also keeps them in place so that it's much easier to hit them. And this does put us into the shield bash dilemma, except for the fact that you only have to tap the button once for it to work. So it's not that bad. And then finally, we have Tidal Wave Gill Grunt, the only Skylander to receive a Series 4. This repose is amazing. I've said some pretty negative things about reposes in the past, but this is a repose done right. If every Series 2, 3 or 4 Skylander was like this, I would have a lot less to complain about. While flying, if you use the flying move again, you will summon a massive watery leviathan and swim around the place. It does insane damage, it has insane knockback, and it just looks incredible. And something else I like about this WoW pal is that it works better with the bottom path. One annoying thing that I noticed is that when the jetpack runs out of juice, you immediately use this WoW pal. And whilst it is an awesome move, this can disrupt the gameplay a little bit. But with the bottom path, your jetpack never runs out, which means you're never forced to use the WoW pal. You have full control over the beast. And because of all these things, Series 4 Gill Grunt is my absolute favourite repos. So now comes that daunting question once again. Is Gill Grunt good? Sure. Don't get me wrong, I do like Gill Grunt. He's one of the most memorable and iconic Skylanders in the series. But when it comes to gameplay, he probably wouldn't be one of my first picks for a battle. He's just a little bit too simplistic for my taste. But that doesn't stop him from having such an iconic moveset. He is a very fun character, and I do have a lot of fond memories of playing as him, and because of that, I'm gonna give him a 7 out of 10. How do I take this thing off?